So, you came back. Tonight's story is a gentle one, or so it seems. It is time for Chapter 70. Children are watched over. This is one of the most fundamental instincts of every parent, to know where their child is, to know they are safe, to maintain a presence even when physical presence is not possible. Most parents do this within the ordinary limits of what is possible for the living. They check on sleeping children. They listen for sounds in the night. They arrange the world as carefully as they can around the small and vulnerable lives in their care. But sometimes, the watching over of a child extends beyond what the living can manage. Sometimes something else takes a turn. Something that loved the child in a different life, in a different time, that has found its way back to make sure the child is still safe, still sleeping, still watched over. Ndanyaa, love does not always end when the living does. I have observed this many times beside this kotatsu, in the long quiet hours of the night. A woman lived alone with her young daughter in an apartment in a residential area. They had been there for 2 years, a comfortable and unremarkable home. The daughter was 4 years old, happy, healthy, with the particular fearlessness of small children who have not yet learned to be cautious about the world. The mother first noticed the toy on a Tuesday morning, a small stuffed animal that her daughter kept on the shelf in the living room. It had been moved, not far, perhaps 30 centimeters along the shelf, and turned, so that it was facing the direction of her daughter's bedroom. She replaced it in its original position without particular concern. A 4-year-old had many explanations. She thought nothing more of it, until the following morning when it had moved again. The same toy, the same direction, facing her daughter's bedroom with the same quiet consistency it had shown the morning before. She asked her daughter if she had moved it. Her daughter said no, with the particular directness of a child who has not yet learned to manage the consequences of honesty. She said she had not moved it. She said the toy moved by itself at night. She said this in the matter-of-fact way of a 4-year-old reporting an observable fact. The mother set up a camera in the living room that evening, pointed at the shelf, set to record through the night. She went to bed without telling her daughter what she had done, and in the morning she reviewed the footage. If these stories find their way to you, if you feel drawn back to this quiet room again and again, there is a place for you here. Others have found it. Perhaps you will tell them you did too. The footage showed the living room in the still and unremarkable way of a room at night. Nothing moved for several hours. Then, at 2:17 in the morning, the toy moved. She watched it happen on the small screen of her phone with the complete and focused attention of someone determined to see clearly, regardless of what that clarity costs them. The toy shifted along the shelf, slowly, turned, faced the direction of her daughter's bedroom, exactly as she had found it 2 mornings in a row, with no one in the room, no hand visible, no disturbance of any kind to the air around it. Then she noticed something else, at the very edge of the frame, barely visible, a presence, brief, the quality of something that had moved through the corner of the shot without being aware of the camera. She paused the footage. enlarged the image and sat very still for a long time. She showed her daughter the paused image the following day, not the moving toy, simply the presence at the edge of the frame. She held the phone out and asked her daughter if she recognized what she was looking at. Her daughter looked at the image for a moment, then looked up at her mother and said a name, quietly, simply. In the matter-of-fact way, she reported everything, the name of her mother's mother, who had passed away 8 months before her daughter was born, who her daughter had never met, whose name she had heard perhaps twice in passing conversation. The mother sat with this for a long time after her daughter had gone back to her toys, thinking about the name, about the toy facing her daughter's bedroom every morning, about what it meant for someone to watch over a child they had never been alive to meet. She told me this story carefully, with the particular combination of emotions that belong to someone who has received something they did not know they needed. She said she had not been frightened, not by the footage, not by her daughter's recognition of the figure at the edge of the frame. She had been moved, in the particular way of someone who has understood that love does not always end where the living world ends, that something of her mother had found its way back to the apartment, had found the granddaughter she had never met, and had been doing what grandmothers do, checking, watching, making sure the small and sleeping child was safe, and occasionally repositioning a toy on a shelf so that it faced the right direction toward the room where her granddaughter slept. I want to say something about that toy, about what it means for something to turn a small object in the night to face a particular direction, toward a sleeping child. It would be easy to hear this story and feel only unease, but I find myself thinking about it differently. Whatever turned that toy, turned it toward the child, not away, not toward the door, toward the sleeping child, and then turned it back, as though it had seen what it needed to see, and was satisfied. I cannot tell you with certainty which kind of presence moved through that apartment at 2:17 in the morning, but I find myself hoping for that mother and her sleeping daughter, that it was someone who had once loved that child and was simply passing through, making sure. In the quiet and careful way that love sometimes continues, long after the one who carries it has gone somewhere the living cannot easily follow. Another whispered story from Japan, shared quietly here beside the kotatsu. Some things that move in our homes at night are not threatening, are not malicious, are not connected to anything we need to be afraid of. Some of them are simply love, continuing past the point where most people believe love can continue. Checking on sleeping children, turning toys to face the right direction, moving quietly through rooms at 2 in the morning with the particular care of someone who does not want to wake anyone, simply to make sure, simply to know that the child is safe and sleeping and watched over, as she always was, as she always will be, by something that loved her before she was born and has not stopped and will not stop, for as long as there is a toy on a shelf that can be turned to face the room where she sleeps. If this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here, beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting, and if you wish others to find their way here too, I would not object.